Hello. How's everybody doing? Everybody's in person for now. Hi, Madalyn.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. We are, well, maybe we'll wait like 1 minute while a couple
Okay.
people join.
Sounds good.
How's your morning been?
Going good. I thought today was Thursday for a minute, so I'm like, we're still in the beginning of the week. Oh, I think I froze or you froze. Let's see if it's, did I freeze or was that me?
I'm back. Can you see me?
Yeah. I wasn't sure if I was the one that froze or what.
No, I think that was me. Connor says he's good too. That's my husband. Hello,
Oh,
Connor.
Connor. Hello. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Asa. How are
Congratulations.
you?
Hey, Sean. Good to see ya. See you popping on. Trying to fix my camera here.
All right, I think we should get started, and then if people jump on, that's great. If they don't, I still want to ask you these questions, so it'll be good either way.
Do it.
Aloha, Asa. So, as we talked about, I'm super interested to learn from you, Madalyn, about gut health and combating inflammation, bloating, fatigue, things like that, working on having better digestion and knowing how to do that, and just learning that that's not just like out of your hands, but there's lots of things you can do.
Yeah.
I just as like an intro to you, I was so fortunate to meet you through your sister Lauren, who has taken my online classes for a long time, and I learned a little bit more about what you do as a health coach and your experience, like especially focusing on gut health, and that was like a personal journey for you. And I know that you're also a fitness instructor yourself, that you teach barre as well, and that you help people on like a one-on-one basis and a group basis learn more about improving their digestion, their health, their overall state of wellness. So I wanted to ask you.
I was going to actually mention one thing, how I met you that I don't think you know.
Oh.
Lauren and I went to because Kate, for those of you that don't know, Kate teaches barre, but at one point we were in the same state together in California, and you were teaching in Menlo Park, and at one point I was teaching barre 3 in San Mateo, and Lauren was like, oh my God, you should come to this class with Kate. She's so amazing. And so that's how I met you. I mean, you didn't really know me, and it's, started the line.
I'm so sad that I don't remember that.
Yeah, no, you should. You don't have to remember it, but I just like remembered that. I was like, oh yeah. And then later on, when Lauren like did more stuff with you with your barre stuff online that you do now for people, I was like, oh yeah, I remember we went to her live class. So yeah, it was
so
fun.
Great. I'm sad because I would have been stoked to have you both in the room with me, and I didn't even realize I already have had you there.
Yeah.
I do remember Lauren being in certain classes, but that's weird because I was actually, for a hot second, I taught in San Mateo when I first moved back to the Bay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, but like yeah, I remember like your classes, I was like, wow, this is really like, you inspired me to do certain like ab stuff because it was like really deep core work. So for those of you who don't know, Kate is like, I feel like you're like the guru of like core work. So always a good sweat. Yeah.
Thank
so that's
you.
a little bit about you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I wanted to ask, okay, so like everyone talks about gut health. I feel like it's pretty buzzy in terms of like labels and things you can read online and like things on social media. But when I thought about it, I was like, I kind of know what it is, but in a way I don't. So like when people talk about foods that are good for your gut, or that like you need to work on your gut health in order to actually be healthy and like actually have better mental health, like what does that really mean? And um, like if it's vaguely familiar, like you see kombucha or you read things on yogurt that's like billions of active cultures, like what does that really mean? And like what does
Yeah.
it all kind of encompass?
Yeah, that's good because I feel like there's so many like trends out now. It's like gut health and like, it's like, ooh, like do this for your gut health. And we're all like, okay, we'll do it, but like what is gut health? So just like starting from the beginning, what gut health is, well, your gut is made up of three things: your digestive tract. So it's like your intestines, your colon, your stomach. So that is your gut. That's what we mean by gut. And then the health of your gut is really made up of two different factors if you're to boil it all the way down. And number one is like the ecosystem, or what we call like the microbiome of your gut. So that's kind of like you have a community of good and bad bacteria. And so that really helps to influence like the health of your gut, one, but also all systems in your body. And then number two, the health of your gut really is the integrity of your gut lining. So integrity meaning like how strong it is. And so we have these tight junctions that like hold our gut together. It's like the tissue. And what can happen over time with inflammation, which I know we're going to talk about, or just based off of different factors, they can become leaky, which means like those junctions start to almost create like little holes in your stomach. And so your one protector, your gut, that literally protects you from your outside world, thinking about the food that you eat that goes through your digestive tract all the way through the end, that is the one thing that keeps the outside world away from your body. So once it becomes leaky, pathogens, toxins, undigested food enter your bloodstream and it becomes foreign and can cause an inflammation cascade. So that's kind of what we mean about like gut health, kind of like in a nutshell. So that's kind of how I would break it down.
I have heard leaky gut, and I honestly haven't known what it meant.
Okay,
So that's really
good.
interesting.
Yeah, leaky gut. It's like leaky gut, gut permeability. Those are all like fancy little terms for like little holes in your gut.
Okay.
Yeah.
And those can be like patched up. Like what happens when you have holes? I picture a boat and it's just like sinking and the water is like
Just,
it can't be
just
gut.
drowning.
Holes in
Yeah.
your digestive lining.
Yeah. So there's no way to like, go in and like patch it up. But the way that we patch it up is through where my whole like kind of mentality and approach to coaching is coming in and supporting the gut to heal on its own. So like rebuilding that tissue. And there's like supplements that can help rebuild that tissue, but it's all these different factors that play into the strength of your gut lining, which is the foods you eat, like your lifestyle. So whether or not you're exposed to toxins in your environment, if you're experiencing symptoms, that means that you kind of have to be more careful about like your food and what toxins that are coming into your body, because that means it's leaking out into your bloodstream,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not even digesting your food properly. And so what can happen is if you're eating like a carrot and you're not digesting it, like carrot food particles actually go into your bloodstream and your body's like, that's not supposed to be there. And so it'll flag it as an invader, versus if you had a strong gut lining, that food gets digested into like things that your body recognizes, like vitamin A and different things like that. So what you do really is about like, it's the food you eat, it's your lifestyle, getting enough sleep, movement. It's also being able really to manage stress, which is like a huge thing. There's other factors, but that's kind of
Yes.
just a couple of things to think about.
I didn't realize that because that makes me think that it's not. I guess what I've been thinking is with gut health, you've got to eat things that are really anti-inflammatory. But it sounds like if you have a leaky gut, it doesn't even matter if you're eating carrots or something really good because it's still not going to be digested properly. Like, so there's I didn't know that.
That
I
was
didn't.
that was my case. I had dealt with digestive issues. This is where I kind of got into all this like 10 years ago, and I was like, I'm just eating vegetables and like I'm eating so healthy. People are like, you're so healthy. I'm like, yeah, but I feel like crap. Because even good food becomes toxic to our body. Toxic. Our body doesn't recognize it if it's like chunks of food and it's not being processed and broken down. So it didn't matter what I was eating, I was reacting to it. And that's not to say, I think an important factor too is that like your body is meant to handle like toxins in the environment. It's meant to handle other foods and for you to enjoy other foods that aren't, like quote unquote healthy. But when you're having symptoms and when you have illness and when you have disease, that's when we really need to focus on healing it and taking those things away so your body can heal. And that way you can enjoy the foods that you love. It's really not like there's a bad or good food. It's everything in moderation. There's a way to eat that is really supportive and unique to you that feels really good. But I think what I don't love seeing in the world today, especially like on social media, it's like demonizing, like you can't have this, you can't have that, you can't have inflammatory foods. It's like, well, you can if you're healthy,
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
not a
So
good
I
and
want to
bad
come
thing.
back to that
Yeah.
because I think that's really helpful to know. Part of me was wondering if I would come away from this and be like, okay, I can't eat X, Y, or Z if I want to have a healthy gut. So that's actually really helpful to know. And I want to know, do you have to do like a massive overhaul to get to the point that you're healthy enough to try other foods? Let's come back to it. But
Yeah.
I do want to ask, like,
Questions.
with your own experience, like how this became like a passion for you. And I know that you had a lot of like you said, you were eating healthy, but you felt terrible. And I guess I'm wondering like how does someone know whether they have a healthy gut or not? And how did that happen for you where you were like, I have to get this figured out because
Mhm.
I don't have any answers as to why I don't feel good.
Yeah. First off, I think it's like being aware of your body. So like listening up, because like every little sign from your body is like a warning sign if it's like a symptom. So, that could be like skin rashes, that could be bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea, any kind of digestive issue. It can look like mood imbalances, like feelings of anxiety and depression. It can look like other hormonal issues like weight gain. Like weight actually is a symptom, a sign from your body that there's an imbalance. So anytime the body experiences an imbalance, it produces a warning sign. And what can happen is a lot of time it's kind of quiet and it starts getting louder and louder and more symptoms keep coming. And then it just depends on the person when we start to realize, oh, like now I hear it. So everyone's really different in terms of what's normal. A lot of people I've worked with have normalized even bloating and like having digestive issues where they'll say like, oh, I don't have anything. And then weeks working in together, they're like, oh, actually I experienced that. And they're like, oh,
Yeah.
that's not normal because it feels normal. So the way to know like the health of your gut is it's really individualized, but I would say it's like symptoms.
Yeah.
Any kind of symptoms is a warning sign. And to that degree, you know, it just depends on like how loud that gets. But the thing with the gut health is that it varies with so many different aspects of symptoms because the gut is like a powerhouse. It's the second brain. That's what it's like kind of considered. It's literally connected by the vagus nerve from your stomach to your brain. And so it has its own like nervous system even, like the
Mm-hmm.
enteric system. So anytime there's like an imbalance, it's literally controlling and influenced by every system in the body. So that's why all symptoms can show up in such a big array. So it's really like paying attention and being aware of like, this is not normal for me.
Yeah.
That's popping up.
And how did you get to the point where you were like, I've isolated what's going on for me and I'm needing to work on my gut health because it's so like you were really tired, you were feeling sick, like what what was it that brought you to that point where you're like, this is what I
Yeah.
need to deal with?
Yeah. Um, Things got louder. So like I had bad constipation. My skin wasn't great. I was always like kind of breaking out, which that was like always kind of coming on.
Mm,
But and then fatigue. I mean, I just kind of attributed it to I need to drink coffee or like I'm just waking up early. But I was just constantly like so tired.
mm,
And but when it really hit was like something is wrong was that the digestive issues because I was very in tuned with my like stomach and like the digestive issues, but I would distend like my stomach would like every time I ate. I mean, I was like 4 months pregnant. I'm not talking about bloating like, oh, I
wow.
ate something. It's normal to expand and contract, but I mean like painful, bloated, gas, like all the great things, that you don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
All of that was there. And I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot live like
Oh,
this. And yeah, I guess because I knew what my normal was for many, many years. And for me, uh, it came kind of quickly. I had dealt with like a lot of like stressful events in a short period of time, and it was like boom. So for me, it was kind of very apparent. Whereas like once that kind of creep up, it's like you have the intuition, and you do have the intuition about your body that eventually like you do know when something's wrong. And it does vary how long, but if you don't recognize it, your body will get loud enough.
yeah.
It will let you know. Your body will let you know.
And to that point, like, I would guess that whether or not you have loud voices in your body, like really, really uncomfortable symptoms, like you're saying, like the things that you recommend and that you coach people on would be beneficial for anyone. Like, I would say, and you can tell me if that's true or not, but I'm guessing it doesn't have to get to the point of those sort of like red flags, like waving, where it's really getting in the way of your life, that like there's a very preventative aspect
Yeah.
too to what you recommend. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, because there's people who kind of wait longer, right, until like you get a diagnosis. My experience was I grew up in a family that was always having medical issues. My dad had cancer like I was under the age of 10, so that was always like a big part of, chemotherapy and doctors, and I
Yeah.
knew about sickness and health, and it was just like from a young age. And my dad was a biology major, so he, I always took the little Flintstone vitamins ever since I was little. I feel like
Yeah.
that was like a trendy
We
thing
all
back then.
did.
Yeah, we did. And he loved vegetables and like don't get stressed, and like he was active. So I feel like a lot of my health passion was brought from my dad, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and she like loved cooking, so that was something I was like always like around. So I think I was like very in tune when things didn't feel good. I was very kind of like sensitive to those things.
Yeah.
So I was able to like I kept pushing forward, like I want to prevent disease because I've seen that side with my dad. Um, and you don't have to wait until you get a diagnosis. Anytime you feel like a symptom or there's a sign from your body, like it is the best thing is to like nip it in the butt. And my things kind of like spiraled out a little bit because I was seeing conventional medicine, and it's always good to like see doctors to like for checkups, and like if there's things going wrong, like make sure that you don't have that diagnosis, or make sure that you get things checked out and do scans. But at some point I felt like a lab rat. Like I was doing like 3 blood tests a week.
Wow.
I was like doing endoscopies until at the point I was seeing top GI doctors in the US, and I had this like old like prestigious doctor, and he's like, well, we're gonna like I don't know, maybe we'll do this test, like you're gonna swallow this camera, we'll put you under, and then we'll just kind of see what's going on in there. Oh, but by the way, like it could get lodged and you have to have surgery. And I was like, nope, no thank you.
No
So
way.
that that kind of brought me
Turn you
out of
off.
that. Yeah, that kind of turned me off. And I was like, okay, it's been years and I still don't know why I feel this way. So all this to say, to like to answer your question, is that there's a place to make sure that everything's like okay, like there's not like a diagnosis or like needing immediate help, but where functional medicine has been so helpful. And functional medicine meaning it's a different avenue. You have like your conventional doctors, your traditional medicine, and you have more outside of the Western medicine, which is like functional naturopathic doctors, health coaches, all that. They look at the body as a big picture, like everything is relative, and it's a search for like why,
Yeah,
and it's not a treating the symptom. Like I
right.
was seeing a GI doctor, I was seeing, specific doctors for a certain system of the body, different people for one system, versus like in the functional space, you see one doctor or you have a coach too, and you're working on everything together, and you're like, why do you have this? Oh, I have hypothyroid. Why do you have that? Why? Until you get to the bottom of things and you're addressing everything at once. So you are preventing, you're working. So like working with me, I'm working to help you prevent that diagnosis,
Hmm.
and also helping you to heal like what symptoms that are going on at that point.
Yeah. So let's say that you meet with me, or I mean, we're even talking right now, and I'm wondering how I can prioritize this and improve. I don't know that I have like dire symptoms in terms of like I'm not digesting, I'm not able to like be regular in terms of digesting and processing my food. Like I don't have that, but I do feel like I don't know what foods are inflammatory always. I don't know which ones aren't. Where would you start? Like,
Mm-hmm.
is it a massive overhaul in terms of like, we are going to look at your stress, your food, your sleep, your breathing, da 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 da, or is it like, and is it slow where it's like, yeah, you will gradually see a difference? Or what's sort of your process? And what
Yeah,
worked for you? Like, what was the game changer for you where you finally felt better?
yeah, absolutely. So a couple things to answer that. One is like, of course, kind of depends on the person. And although like I talk a lot about like digestive issues, kind of like those like concrete like bloating and skin issues, but it's like symptoms can array in so many different ways, like that stem from gut health and just like needing some TLC for the body.
Yeah.
So whatever that symptom may be, like maybe like I get a lot of people that I work with who are like their main focus is like just the fatigue, like they just can't focus, they can't get anything done. That's like their main concern. Or maybe it is digestion, or maybe they're just like feeling off, or maybe they just feel like I'm just starting to hold on to weight and it feels weird, like that's not really me. And
Hmm.
so it can be like an indication that like some I just need kind of like a reset. Like that's a good place to start too. And then there's people who like already have like small intestinal bacterial overgrowth or PCOS or different conditions. And then we work kind of at different levels, right? So let's just say what you were saying, something's kind of off. Maybe like digestion's not like fully on track, but it's okay. Like fatigue is kind of there. Let's say like I'm working with someone like that, like we still kind of start with food as like the basis. And I could like go on tangents and talk about like these foods are really good for inflammate, like to decrease inflammation, these are really good gut healing, this is that, and I could like overwhelm you with like, okay, she said blueberries, so I need to have blueberries today. Like I've been there, and let me tell you, it can be really frustrating and overwhelming to have like food lists.
Yeah.
And although I typically help clients with food lists that kind of help them start somewhere, like telling you generally, it's really about like the balance of eating a lot of vegetables, eat fruit, have good quality protein, and then fill in with the energy and satiety with like healthy fats. And then if you need carbs, we need to thrive on carbs too. So
Yeah.
it's not cutting that out. So without getting into like individual like foods, it's like focus on good, high quality organic vegetables, get a variety of it because you're getting all your micronutrients, right? So food is a great place to start because it is kind of easy, even though it can feel overwhelming. It's like keep it simple. Just eat those vegetables, like get enough protein in there, and then also eating habits. So I work with like eating habits because we can really develop really interesting food relationships just at a young age when we're programming, when ages 0 through 6. And it's like, oh, this food is bad, and we start making up different beliefs around food. So I help people work through that and like how to eat, like slowing down, not skipping meals, just like really everything that supports the body. And then we move outside of uh we move out, we start with like the food and the food behaviors, and we start going into lifestyle. So we're looking at sleep. Your body repairs, your liver, your organs detox during sleep, so we got to get good sleep. I also recommend supplements if there's a gap in the diet.
Mm-hmm.
Look at movement. So like movement is so important, to go on walks, take breaks. I'm not even talking about like go beat yourself up at the gym.
Yeah.
That can even induce a lot of stress. Do a toasted workout, get a little sweaty,
Mm.
build a little muscle. Um, and then we start digging a lot into sleep. Sorry, not sleep, stress, which for me, everyone is different. The diet, the lifestyle was helpful, but I wasn't really addressing my weird eating behaviors, which was like skipping meals. At one point, like I hated food, and I was like, oh, I feel better when I don't eat.
Mm.
So that's also a sign when there is an imbalance in the body, is that we feel better when we're not eating.
Wow.
And for me, I was like, ooh, I think I figured it out. Just don't eat. So I lost 20
Then I
pounds.
don't have to deal with it.
I don't
Oh,
have to deal with it. I actually feel better. So that's also a sign. And it's about working through those, like, again, those eating behaviors that, like, I eat so much more and I work out so much less, and I am at my healthiest weight. I feel the healthiest because my body has come back into balance.
yes.
Um, I had a lot
All
fewer food.
those different areas. I like what you're saying. Like it's not just like get an avocado a day, but it's like, okay, are you
Yeah.
looking at your sleep? Are you thinking about your stress levels? Um, Not skipping meals, eating consistently. But like, don't people talk about intermittent fasting? And it
Yeah, I actually created a blog post about that, that I haven't posted in a while, and I think I created it like months ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, like it's a hot take, because I was like, this is gonna get some people fired up. Some
yeah,
people, again,
people
people have
swear
eating
by that.
behaviors. Yeah, people are so attached to certain trends and ideas about health and eating that, like, once you start throwing out like facts and stuff, it's like, no, but this is what I do.
Yeah.
And I will say this, um, if you have symptoms, if you are not like fully at your healthiest self, if you're stressed out, if you are a woman, if you are have hormone imbalances, if you have blood sugar dysregulation, meaning symptoms of that is like energy crashes, cravings, intermittent fasting is not going to be good for you, because what you're doing is you're putting more stress onto the body.
Right.
And a lot of people, when they're intermittent fasting, it's like, oh, I was starving and then I just ate this big meal, and like you're just causing more
They
stress
don't
in the
feel good
body.
either way.
They
Like,
don't feel good anyway. So we do want breaks between eating. So we don't want to be a grazer either, because we're just feeding blood sugar, right? And we want to give our body a break to digest. We have a system in our body that actually cleans out the digestion tract every 3 to 4 hours. So you do want that break for that broom to come
mhm.
through. And that's where, small intestinal bacteria overgrowth can come from too, is when you're not sweeping out your
Cleaning
digestive
it
tract.
out.
So you want those
Yeah.
breaks.
Yeah.
And I always recommend about 12-hour fast between dinner and breakfast. And that's so easy. Like even if you finish dinner at 8 and you wake up and you have breakfast by 8, like
Then you've got your 12 hours.
Yeah. And if you're starving, then you eat.
Yeah.
You're not hungry, you wait a little longer, but your body knows. Like, think about back in the day, you know, when there weren't so many rules. Like, I always think about my Italian grandmothers who like lived to be like 90. And I'm like, I don't think they had all these rules about food. They're like living on the mountain. They're just eating fresh vegetables and meats. But intermittent fasting is just, it's hard, especially for women too, because we are cycling through all these hormones every month too.
Yeah.
So you're just adding that extra stress, and skipping those meals or pushing meal out can really unstabilize blood sugar, especially if you have that issue. So
yeah, that's helpful to know. That's good to know, because I've seen a lot about that, and I'm like, that just seems like it would make me very irritable, and then I'd be
I get
hungry,
it.
and then I'd just like snack and not know, like I wouldn't feel full.
Yeah,
It's not
it
good.
made me like even more constipated because my body was like, oh, you're in survival mode. We're gonna shut down your
Yeah,
digestive
we're
system
gonna
because
keep this in you as
we're
long as
gonna,
we can.
right. I could feel the inflammation holding on. Now, I will say all of these trends, or I say trends, these methods, even keto, were developed for certain diseases. Like for epilepsy, keto was created. So, and even intermittent fasting, fasting can be really helpful. There's like research to help diabetes. So there's certain methods and ways of doing it,
Yeah.
but it's not like the whole population needs to be like, oh, that works for epilepsy, let's all go keto. And it may be therapeutic, right? Like it may be therapeutic, but we're talking like, I'm always talking about longevity, long-term consistency.
Yeah.
Are you going to be on that diet? Are you going to do that way of eating? Like, what kind of lifestyle is that to do that from 2 years from now, 10 years from now,
Well, and
50 years
I
from
think
now?
people like an idea of this like black and white fix. Like they're so sort of like they get in these ruts and they're so fed up with how they feel that it's like, I need a clear solution. And so that's going to be keto, or that's going to be intermittent fasting, or that's going to be the Whole30, or that's going to be 70-day hard, or whatever that thing is called. And it's like, they feel like if they have this rule book that's like pretty restrictive and pretty extreme, then they're almost like atoning for like all of the chaos of like how they've been feeling and the lack of sort of consistency. And it's a harder pill to swallow to be like, actually, it's all of these different things working in tandem that you're not going to do for 30 days in this like boot camp way, but instead you're going to like build sustainable habits that you're going to keep for your whole life. And you're going to, you know what I mean? They want to shock their body with this like rigid thing. And I get that. I get the appeal of that. It sounds like
it's a sense of control too. It feels good. I've done that.
Like I'm taking charge. I'm
Yeah.
getting back on track, and it's gonna be like, yeah, I have control versus like, I'm gonna do this intuitive listening into my body. I'm gonna think about functionally all of these different sort of spheres that work in tandem, that connect. Like that's harder for a frustrated, exhausted mind than one of those like extreme things. So I get the appeal of that.
Even just the way that I was going to say, the way that you're describing that, it's like, can you see how one way is out of like fear, out of control, out of
shame, even like, I hate the way I feel, I'm so gross, I'm going to do this thing to like prove to myself that I, can like fix it.
Like, it's like this fear and hate and like frustration versus this like listening, loving approach, like caring, gentle. Like, what do you think, how would your body respond to one way versus the other? Like, your body's going to respond to care, love, and nourish. And that's something that struck me, because I was always the one that was like, I'm gonna whip you into shape. I'm gonna like push you. I'm gonna do 2 a day,
1 hour workout, and I'm only going to eat steamed broccoli. Like, it's like
at one point,
no one can last on that.
veggies and chicken.
And then you're like, oh, I I like lost or failed again, and then it just
Yeah.
circled and just spiraled. So um, I do want to go back to like with okay, so you said that there's, and this goes along with what we were just saying, there's moderation, there's room if you're healthy to add on tortilla chips or ice cream or, you know, whatever. How do you, if you're trying to get back on track, is it like, okay, maybe like 80-20, or let's start with this sort of like template, not a rigid rule book, but like let's focus on getting in these nutrients and then sprinkle in like some other things, or is it like wait before you introduce,
Mm.
I don't know. Like I was thinking about this yesterday because I got these chips from Sprouts Market and they're organic and they're like um, non-GMO and they like branded as very healthy. And then I looked at the ingredients and it was like may contain, like it had in parentheses like safflower, sunflower, or canola oil. And I was like, I think Madalyn said that's inflammatory. So I was like, oh, but
Yeah.
I don't want to do like good food, bad food. Like, how do you walk that line of like
Yeah.
not having like food shaming, but also being like,
Yeah.
that's actually
How
not
can we
good?
support our body? Yeah, that's I love your questions because there's like so from like from the perspective of someone who's like in it because that like I my brain has gone through all that before. And so if someone were to come to me and they're just like, I'm dealing with these symptoms, I want to heal this, I have maybe this condition, it's like, okay, well, let's do kind of a reset because what we need to do is stop the
Yeah.
inflammation and heal the gut so that it's strong and then it can handle, you know, like if you look at my diet now compared to when I was unhealthy, like it's completely different. Like I do the best I can, like try not to eat the seed oils, but sometimes, you know, I can't completely avoid it. And that's fine because I'm healthy and I'm like,
Yeah.
my body will be able to detox that out because I'm trying to support it by detoxing. But if we're dealing with symptoms, like it may be a choice that, okay, well, maybe I'll try to find an alternative. If you're trying to heal your gut or get rid of symptoms, then that might be the time where you're more strict in you know, trying to heal and you're kind of doing this reset, committing to that. So that
Yeah.
way you get rid of all the inflammation, heal it, and then start to reintroduce. And then you have a sustainable lifestyle where you're like, you know, I mainly, you know, 8-20, 80-20 rule, which that approach for everyone who doesn't know is like basically 80% of like you're eating all the foods that you know that support you, anti-inflammatory. Like for me, it's more paleo based. But then that 20% is like go out, enjoy myself, or oh, I really enjoy this bag of chips. You know, I like this, I like that, and I sprinkle it in.
Yeah.
And it's just like this balanced lifestyle because um, we know it's not the food. Because if we're looking at someone who's healthy and they're eating those things, now let's be realistic, like they're not eating just chips all day long, okay? But
Right.
they're eating like,
Here
you
and
know,
there.
they have a healthier mindset, but they're, you know, they get to enjoy themselves. It's like, how come they get to do that? It's because they are healthy and their body can handle it.
Mhm.
But the food that comes in, if the gut is leaky, your body can't handle it because it's leaking into the bloodstream
Mhm.
and your immune system is flagging it as invader. So now every time you eat a carrot, it's reacting to it because it has not fully digested. It's going into your bloodstream. So your body's creating antibodies. And so
Yeah.
the only way to do that is to kind of get rid of it, heal it back up, antibodies go away, and then you start bringing new stuff in.
And just on a literal level, like I'm picturing the holes and the leaking. What tightens them back up? Like what actually makes it so you're not leaking anymore? Is it just
Yeah.
all these things, like slowly it literally starts to patch it up?
Yeah,
Or
think about like a wound, right? So you get a cut on your arm and you put like Neosporin on it, you put a Band-Aid on it. Your body is meant to heal. Like, I don't know. I've cut off the end of my finger before, and I was like, it's never gonna like grow back like an end of a finger. How does it know? Your body knows how to heal and build tissue.
Mm-hmm.
One thing, without getting into it, our body can only heal when our nervous system, it feels safe and relaxed. And I go into that in my program too at some
Mm-hmm.
point. The parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, like that is like the deepest work of activating that system, because we can't heal if we're not in a state of digest and relaxation.
Mm-hmm.
So
Rest and digest. I remember
rest and
from my nutrition
digest.
class.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that answered kind of like one of the questions that I don't know if I fully answered back then. It's like how I got here today, because all of like the healthy stuff for me wasn't enough. I had to do deep nervous system work. And now I'm like, I haven't eaten eggs in like 9 years. I just started eating it like it's been like a year now. So just to say, it's not the food, it's the integrity of the gut. And so what happens is it's literally just tissue growing back, and like things that support it is get rid of the triggers, get rid of what's irritating it,
Mm-hmm.
get rid of what's poking at it. It's like you taking off the band-aid every time you like eat a food that you're triggering to, or you're not sleeping, you're taking off the band-aid, you're poking, it never heals. So you
Yeah.
got to have a whole process to, and that's, I do all that work for you. I create that process of how can we put the band-aid on, how can we keep it on, so then the tissue is like, I feel calm, I'm not inflamed, let's
Yeah.
start building tissue and let's
Yeah.
build it back together.
Totally. Well, and on a literal level, like you said, a wound healing, like I remember getting a burn, a really bad burn about 10 years ago, and they told me like you aren't going to heal unless you're eating more and you need to eat certain food because your body needs so much
Yeah.
to repair the tissue and repair like yeah, and it needs to be in a state of rest, like, and it needs to be properly hydrated and all of those things. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it can't build those proteins and those and that tissue unless you're like properly like setting it up to do that. So that makes total sense. Um, I know we're like running short on time, so I wanted to ask about um your class that you're doing this week
Yeah.
on Thursday,
Yeah.
and I am so excited to listen into it. It's a master class on cleansing your gut, and um, I can't make it live. I know you said it's on Thursday, August 10th at 5:30, right?
Yep. Mountain time.
5:30 Mountain Time, so it would be 4:30 Pacific, but I'm gonna tune in after because people that sign up still get the recording, right?
Yes, they do. So as much as well, today's officially like kind of like the last day to sign up for free. But for those who watch this back or who joined, thank you for joining. I have a code. It's Gut Cleanse 25, or you can just follow me and DM me, and I can give you all the information in the link. It's in my bio link to register. But would love for people to join live. If not, like I'm going to send out the recording because it should be really good information about digging into more of this, but also you'll walk away with like a couple tips to start, and what I even teach my own clients. So I'm super excited about that. But yeah, I would love, if anyone's interested, you can check out my bio link. I also have freebies on there, um, or just follow and DM me, and I can just point you in the right direction. I'll just slap the URL there. But yeah, I'm super excited. It's a master class on Thursday.
I'm so excited for it, and I feel like I could talk forever. As you
Yeah,
can
I
see, my brain's like,
know.
but what about this? What about that? So,
We'll have to do another one for sure. And like before, I know if we're like kind of ending, I know that there's people out there like also from my audience who don't know about you. So like what you offer, I've done your online classes and they're so fun and I get really sweaty. They're so good. So I know you have like a subscription, or you also have a special kind of offering for people who want to try it out.
yeah, yeah.
It's
Thanks
so
for
fun.
mentioning that. Basically, I started teaching online during COVID when the studio that I taught at in the Bay Area closed. And I'm super lucky that folks that took my classes wanted to keep taking from me online, and to this day still do. It's really amazing, and I'm super grateful for it. And so I still teach online. I send out recordings to make it easy for people to take the class on their own time. I just found that to be better for people that have like busy schedules and need that flexibility. They can do half their workout. They can do the whole thing. They can do it in the evening, the morning. They can repeat a workout, whatever. So I have a full library of like more than 170 workouts at this point. But then I do 2 new ones a month, at least 2, and always have things going on for members, whether that's like giveaways or recipes I'm sending out or challenges. But for anyone who's never taken my class, I'd love to send a free class, or even like a little starter. I like to introduce people with about 3 classes, and they can get a sense of like how my workouts are different every time and will keep you on your toes and not bored. I think
Not
working
bored
out
at
at
all.
home and online can like virtually can sometimes be very hard to motivate yourself. So I try to keep them really fresh and really hard. And
Which I love because you can always like find ways to make it easier. And like
yeah,
for me, I don't know why, but like it's hard to get my abs sore. But like your classes, like I'm like, yes, gotta
yay,
get ab workout. Yay.
get that core burn. So
Yeah.
yeah, if anyone who's watching, or if people see this, since I guess we'll post this to our Instagram after, if people are
Yeah.
catching this later, you can message me at Toasted by Kate, and I will send you some free classes to start out with.
Yay. So fun.
Yeah. Well, thanks again. I loved
It's
this.
so fun.
And thanks for the people that joined. I know we're
Yeah.
small in
Thank
numbers,
you
but
for
I'm
joining.
still super glad. And I am so excited to talk to you again soon
Yeah.
and to tune into your master class this week.
Thank you. Can't wait to do your next little class, get a nice little sweaty ab burn. And this was like so fun. Like I feel like I could chat forever. So thank
Yes.
you everyone who listened and who will be listening. We hope you guys enjoyed this.
Yes. Thanks, you guys. Thanks, Madalyn.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.